In 1896, just a year after Wilhelm Röntgen's discovery of X rays, this groundbreaking technology began to make its way into American hospitals. The timing could not have been more significant. As the 19th century drew to a close, X rays offered something that was both revolutionary and symbolic. They gave medicine the power to see what had always been hidden. For the first time, physicians could visualize the inside of the body without surgery. Broken bones, bullets, tumors, these could now be detected and monitored with accuracy. They fundamentally changed diagnostics and created entirely new standards for medical investigation. But the impact of X rays wasn't just scientific. Many people, especially within church run hospitals, saw the ability to see through the bodies but itself as divinely inspired. It seemed like a form of revelation where technology offered a clearer understanding of God's creation. As a result, religious institutions were among the first to embrace and invest in radiology departments. This convergence of faith, technology, and care created the conditions for a new kind of clinical infrastructure. X ray machines required calibration, radiation safety, shielding, and proper handling, ushering in the need for technical specialists who could manage these devices. This was the beginning of what would become clinical engineering, the practice of ensuring that medical technology works safely, ethically, and effectively in support of human life. The year 1896 was a moment of profound contradiction in American history. On one hand, it saw rapid scientific innovation, including the introduction of X rays into medicine. On the other, it witnessed one of the most damaging Supreme Court decisions in U.S. history, Plessy versus Ferguson, which legally upheld the doctrine of separate but equal, entrenching racial segregation. This ruling exposed the deep social divisions within a nation that was paradoxically embracing modern progress. As scientific discovery accelerated, societal inequality also became more systemized and institutionalized. These tensions shaped not only culture and politics, but healthcare as well. Yet, amid this turbulence, hospitals and medicine began a transformation. Medical institutions increasingly embraced technology, seeking tools that could improve accuracy, reduce uncertainty, and elevate trust in care. X rays were a perfect symbol of this shift. They represented the new ideal: objective, visual, non invasive knowledge of the body. So, while 1896 marked a step backward socially, it also marked a leap forward scientifically. And it was in this climate of contrast between division and discovery that clinical engineering found its earliest foundations, a profession dedicated to maintaining the safety, integrity, and accessibility of the very technologies shaping modern medicine. In late 1895, Wilhelm Röntgen discovered a new kind of ray, what he initially called an X-ray due to its unknown nature. By early 1896, this invisible energy had already begun revolutionizing medicine. X-rays made it possible for physicians to see inside the human body without cutting it open. This was a complete paradigm shift in diagnostic practice. Previously, internal injuries and conditions could only be confirmed through exploratory surgery, or were never seen at all until it was too late. By 1896, X ray machines were being used in hospitals across Europe and the United States. Within just months of the discovery, medical journals, clinics, and even newspapers were filled with stories of how this new technology had successfully located bullets, identified fractures, and revealed abnormalities previously hidden from its view. What made X rays so powerful, beyond their diagnostic capability, was their non invasive nature. They opened up a new era of medicine where looking inside the body no longer meant harming it. This shifted expectations for patient safety and sparked the need for a new layer of medical support, one responsible for managing and maintaining these delicate, powerful technologies. This need would become one of the earliest calls for what we now call clinical engineering, a field responsible for ensuring that life saving technologies are reliable, safe, and ethically deployed. While X rays were undoubtedly a scientific breakthrough, They were also widely understood through a spiritual lens, especially by religious communities and the hospitals they supported. Many early observers saw X rays as more than just energy waves. They viewed them as a kind of divine insight into the human body. Suddenly, what had been invisible was now visible. To some, this felt like a gift from God, technology that allowed healers to see beyond the flesh without causing harm. This spiritual framing helped encourage broad support for the adoption of radiographic imaging in caregiving spaces. Church supported hospitals were among the first to adopt X ray technology. These institutions were already committed to compassion based care and saw the X ray not only as a diagnostic tool, but as a way to fulfill their mission to heal without violating the body. This created a powerful alignment between faith and innovation, where trust in God and trust in science were mutually reinforcing. In this environment, technology merged with mission. Seeing became synonymous with serving. Healing wasn't just about intervention, it became about understanding, revelation, and trust. These values are echoed today in clinical engineering, where visibility, safety, and service remain central to managing life safety technologies. The widespread use of X ray machines in the late 1890s didn't just change diagnostics, it also created an entirely new set of technical responsibilities that would later evolve into the field of clinical engineering. X ray machines, while revolutionary, were also complex and potentially dangerous. They required precise handling, stable power sources, and frequent adjustments. Operators had to monitor performance, ensure proper exposure levels, and troubleshoot electrical components. As a result, maintaining an X ray system became just as important as using it. This also introduced the need for radiation shielding and calibration. To protect patients and staff, X ray rooms had to be designed with lead shielding and airflow considerations. The machines had to be checked for accuracy, with early versions of quality control emerging to ensure safe and consistent results. These demands signaled the birth of engineering roles in medicine. For the first time, hospitals needed trained professionals, not just to build or operate machines, but to maintain, repair, and optimize them within these clinical environments. This was the starting point for clinical engineering, a discipline rooted in both technical precision and patient safety. Today, clinical engineers carry that legacy forward by managing radiological systems, performing equipment safety checks, and ensuring that every diagnostic tool performs with integrity. The introduction of X rays into medicine in 1896 did more than revolutionize diagnostics. It reshaped how society understood the body, healing, and the very idea of seeing. X rays quite literally made the invisible visible. Technically, they revealed bones, foreign objects, and internal injuries, but spiritually and symbolically, they were interpreted as a form of divine insight, proof that science could uncover truth without harming the body. As this technology spread, hospitals were transformed. They were no longer just places of rest or surgery. They became high tech spaces of both faith and precision. Instruments were no longer optional, they were integral to care, and they had to be managed with the same seriousness as the treatments they supported. This is where clinical engineering finds its roots. Modern clinical engineers continue the work of those early radiology pioneers by ensuring that imaging systems are not only effective, but also safe, reliable, and ethically deployed. They are stewards of technology, guardians of systems that allow us to see, diagnose, and treat with accuracy and compassion. In many ways, the X ray represents the turning point from medicine as art to medicine as system. And clinical engineers carry that legacy forward, making sure we can still see clearly, safely, and with purpose. And I want to leave you with this. The 1800s closed with medicine transformed from a practice rooted in intuition and tradition to one increasingly guided by data, technology, and moral accountability. As tools like prosthetics, anthropometric charts, and x rays emerged, they laid the ethical and technical foundations for clinical engineering, a field built to ensure that care remains both precise and profoundly human. My name is Professor Vasquez, and I want to thank you for your time.